This is Vermont Edition. I'm Mitch Wertlieb in for Michaela Lafrac. Physical media is making a comeback in all shapes and forms. An article in The Economist last month noted that while the vinyl revival has been underway for 2 decades now, sales for LPs and EPs are as high today as they were in the late 1980s. But vinyl isn't the only reemergent success story. Cassette tapes, DVDs, iPods, early 2000s digital cameras, they've all seen a boom. And you can't just shake it off as a fad. A pop star you may have heard of named Taylor Swift is set to unveil a new album soon, and sure, you'll be able to stream it on Spotify, but it's also being released on vinyl, CD, and cassette tape. And it became national news earlier this year when a Vermont engineer repurposed 3 old payphones to help folks communicate in places where cell service is not always reliable. Now, payphones and cassette tapes won't replace iPhones or streaming services anytime soon, but there is a clear desire at the quarter turn of the 21st century to own, to handle, to have music and movies rather than paying for a subscription service like Spotify or Netflix. This month, Sony Music Group says they saw an unexpected growth in physical music sales by 19%, reaching around $180 million. Vermont Edition producer Daniela Fierro met with Speaking Volumes owner Norbert Ender in his new music shop in Randolph, and he'll join us soon. But first, let's check out a tour that Daniela took of the new location.
In downtown Randolph, Norbert Ender has opened his 3rd location of his store, Speaking Volumes. I visited the store on a rainy day in July.
Hi.
I'm Daniela. Nice to
Daniela,
meet you.
good to meet you, Norbert.
Nice to meet you. Do you want to show me around?
So, Leah, let's do the physical walkthrough here, and I'll introduce you to the building. Now, reading corner here, and then it's still in the setup process, obviously. So, and then this is all new arrivals. This is the 3,000 CDs just came in.
Wow. I mean, I know you said you this is kind of like an overflow of the Burlington store, but where do you get, like, that's a lot of boxes of CDs. Where do you get them from?
I do purchase estates, whole estates, and then again, I'm fairly well known already. I've been here 21 years up in Burlington. So yeah, I'm the only one who really buys large quantities of specialized, where do you go with 3,000 CDs? Yeah. So yes, they come to me.
The new store is in an old grain mill and farm store along the railroad track. The first floor is filled with vinyl, CDs, cassettes, and used books. There's even a reading nook. The second floor has racks of vintage clothing.
This is my latest acquisition here.
Can you tell me what it is?
This is a jukebox. It's a Wurlitzer.
Where did you get this?
This one came out of an estate. Quite a famous producer owned these. Andy Bailey. He actually just passed away last December, unfortunately. He was Brian Wilson's producer. He produced the last record with Brian Wilson. Also played with Blondie and Patti Smith.
Do you fix these or
This is kind of like a Swiss watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 45s go in here. It's all automated. It's really difficult to find, to service those and maintain them. Ideally, yes, we have worked on them limited, but this mostly mechanical, so there's not, there's electronics in it, but there's really a complicated mechanical process to switch over the records and play them properly. So yeah, this is pretty involved. It can be overwhelming.
Overwhelming is true. When I first started collecting vinyl, I had someone to help me navigate the internet's vast array of different types of turntables. But I was lucky. I asked Ender what his advice is for anyone who is looking to build their own music collection. First, he says you should invest in a good record player, something that's not a Crosley brand record player. Second, it's trying to figure out what kind of collector you want to be.
Again, so the different levels of collecting, like anything else, so the casual listener or the serious collector, or then again preserving historic recordings and stuff and reproducing them, re-recording them, and so forth. So there's a lot of things you can do with them. And everybody collects for different reasons. Some people collect for the artwork that's on the covers, which is a big motivator for the young crowds now.
Besides selling items, Speaking Volumes also repairs home stereo equipment like receivers and speakers. Marin Bove is a new hire at Speaking Volumes. He's worked in the electrical field, but a beginner at what he calls vintage audio. Today, he's working on a Marantz receiver.
And what I've been doing with it is these electrolytic capacitors, all the kind of like cylinder shapes, those get bad over time, especially with these 3 boards. They had the original electrolytic capacitors on it, and they lose their values over time and sometimes can short out. So we went through and replaced basically every single one of those with a newer version.
Bove recently graduated from college, so some of the equipment he repairs can be up to twice his age. I asked how he knows how to repair these relics of a bygone era, and the answer is simple: the internet.
What's great about these older models is the company who made them publishes the service manual. Every single circuit, every value that it's supposed to have at certain points, it's all listed, and they give you very detailed instructions on how to service the equipment. So this stuff was like made to be repaired.
Before this job, he admits he wasn't much of an audiophile, but now he's getting the itch.
Like I'll listen to music on these to test them, and then I'll go home and I'll listen on my headphones. And I'm like, this is just not the same. The music just isn't the same. So I think I'm becoming an audiophile.
17-year-old Mason Evans is another recent hire. He says his dad has a vinyl collection, and while he likes the sound of it, he doesn't have the money to amass a record collection himself. But he does say,
more of a CD guy.
What do you like about CDs?
I like the physical media. I like the artwork on the cover. Some of them have like cool cover art, posters, whatnot. I like the putting in the CD. It's like you gotta work for the music. It's just fun to like have them, display them, listen to them, functional artwork.
He says he's come to appreciate the work that goes into making an album.
You're not just listening to the music, you're looking at the artwork that someone designed, you're reading the lyrics off the cover. It's like it's a closer connection, I feel like, cuz like on Spotify you get the lyrics, you get artist stuff, but it's not like you're sitting there reading it while you're listening to it. It's just something that you see. I feel like it's a different way of experiencing it.
Do you and your friends like this kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's sort of a shared thing. My closest friend, he listens to a lot of tapes because that's something his car will take.
Has your relationship with music changed because of it?
Yeah, I feel like it's a deeper appreciation for albums overall rather than just like shuffling through a playlist. Like I mostly listen to albums start to finish. I have a few playlists that I listen to when I'm driving, but if I want to listen to music, I put on an album.
For Vermont Public, I'm Daniela Fierro.
You heard him just seconds ago, but joining us now on the show is Speaking Volumes owner Norbert Ender. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Physically, I should say, in our studio, not virtually, in our Vermont Public Studios. Also on our panel today is Jason Robinson. He is the owner of Lizotte Camera in Burlington. It is the oldest camera shop in Vermont's largest city. They sell all types of cameras, from traditional film to digital, and should an old camera you love and can't bear to get rid of break, it is also a repair shop. Jason, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
And joining us as well is Sarah Jane Kennelly, the education coordinator at Burlington City Arts. She is an artist, an educator, and a curator who has taught students for 6 years how to develop film, 3 of those years at the BCA. Sarah Jane, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And listeners, you can join this conversation. We hope you will give us a call, perhaps on an old rotary or push-button phone if you have one. We'll give those calls priority today. But if you want to get in touch, doesn't really matter how you do it. The number is 800-639-2211. That's 1-800-639-2211. You can also send an email to vermontedition@vermontpublic.org. Let us know if you are an analog aficionado in a digital world. How do you like to listen to music, watch movies, or take photographs? We're talking about it all today. So, Norbert Ender, let me start with you. As the owner of a music store, I wonder if any kind of panic set in for you when streaming music services really began to dominate the listening landscape. I mean, there was a time when CD sales, for example, kind of plummeted. Did you worry that a traditional shop for a record or CD store would become a thing of the past?
Not at all.
Such confidence. I love it.
Not at all. Actually, quite the contrary. I was always worried that people were buying my music way too fast before I get a chance to look at them and listen to it myself. So I guess Mark Maron called me a hoarder.
Well, dropping some famous names already. What did you know, though, that others didn't? Because I remember thinking, that it was said CDs, all that stuff is gone.
I was as surprised as anybody, so I never really anticipated. And my focus was never really on the music itself. I'm primarily a bookseller, and that's how my bookstore started speaking volumes. And my kid confronted me one day and asked me why there are 12,000 records in the living room and taking up all that space. So we cut a deal, and I said, well, if he organizes them a bit, then the overflow we can take down to the bookstore and sell those on the sites. And that was just about when the interest in my records became apparent, when people walked into the shop, saw my turntable, and tried to buy my vinyl right off the turntable.
Just like that.
Just
Wow.
like that.
Jason Robinson, same kind of question for you. Smartphones make it super easy to take quick pictures. Selfies became ubiquitous in the culture because of them. Did you ever think people would abandon the practice of taking film, putting it into a camera, and taking the time to set up a really good photograph?
I was nervous for a little while. When I took over the shop a couple decades ago, I took over a film store, like a film camera store. That's what it was. And very quickly, it was all anyone wanted was a digital camera. And I got nervous. I didn't have the confidence. But I realized I didn't care for the digital camera as much as I did what I knew. And I saw the shortcomings of it, so I stuck with it. To be very honest, I almost threw in the towel on film and went just all digital. But I realized it's love of the game at some point, and you've got to go with what you know and what you love. And I love the shop so much, and it's all about film. And I'm glad I did stick with it.
Yeah, you don't regret that decision.
No, I don't at all. I keep a toe in both worlds. But if anyone that comes in the shop, you know what our love language is, and it's film. It stinks like Fixer in my store.
It's a good kind of stink.
Yeah.
Sarah Jane Kennelly, I want to ask about your students. I mean, they obviously, you have students who want to learn how to develop film. Can you briefly describe what that process is like and what it provides for someone who does this from start to finish?
Yeah, so in our darkroom photography class, which is a 6-week course that we offer, we start with talking about the basics of making a picture, thinking about the settings of your camera, how to use it, which is always a fun first day because we have folks that bring in cameras that they've never touched before, that they just bought at Lazat, or we actually have a lot of students that will bring in a camera that their family members had, maybe a grandparent, that they're excited to use and kind of connect with that family history. But through the course, we teach them how to develop their own film. So we only do black and white film in our studios, but how to process their film and then develop their own prints. So it's a really cool experience of seeing students get to create these handmade images.
Is there like an aha moment once they get that sort of finished product where they say, I never even thought it was going to look like this?
Definitely, yeah. And I think once we get into the printing process, every student goes, oh my gosh, I only made 2 prints I like within 2 hours. It's like, yep, that's the process it takes. So,
how long does the process actually take? Does it vary depending on how much film you've shot, I guess? Or
I think part of it varies on experience, so comfortability of setting up the all the settings for the enlarger, having a confidence with the steps with the chemistry, and some of it is just workshopping with techniques of dodging and burning as we keep going through the courses. And some students will say, oh no, I brought this into the light, or oh no, I took out my film and it exposed all my paper. So, it's learning processes along the way, but by the end of the class, it's a bit of a smoother process.
I mean, you have to make some mistakes before you get what you really want there at the end.
Exactly. Yeah.
I wonder about the sort of the tactile nature of handling all these things. We heard in that piece that Daniela did, Norbert, talking about, the physical act of holding a CD, what that can mean, or a vinyl album. I remember watching this show that Aaron Sorkin did back, I think in 2012, called The Newsroom. And there was this great scene where a young man and a woman meet on a train, and the woman's listening to music on an iPod. And the guy says, you still own an iPod? He's incredulous. He can't, implying that technology is already passé. And she says, I like the little clicking sound that the wheel makes, I mean, is there something to that, that longing for something that just the simple clicking sound produced by the movement of a thumb?
I think we all have romantic aspirations, most of us, I hope. And yeah, I think that plays right into that feeling, the tangibility. We are as humans, I think we do need the touch and the feel, and not just the convenience. Ultimately, it'll catch up with us. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think about like albums, buying albums, the album art, even more than CDs, because those
Right.
were smaller things. You know, that's something that you just can't reproduce these days.
What I also have noticed, and I want to bring this into conversation in my field, especially with record selling, there used to be primarily a male-dominated field, almost exclusively, and now I've noticed a huge shift in the last 10 years, especially with the younger audience being female, which is I like to see that happening.
Yeah, that's great.
More and more. So a lot of young kids coming in with their dad being told to buy the newest. I don't carry much new vinyl, but certain artists I have to feature since there's no vintage stuff out there, of course. As you mentioned, Taylor Swift and Kate Perry and so forth. So again, female artists pushing a new medium and the audience responding fantastically to it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of interest in younger people, you know, turning back to albums and CDs and whatnot. And Jason, is that true as well for things like cameras and film, or is it just older folks that you get in your shop?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. The demographic is half my age plus younger. For folks that come in and it just they walk in and it's like a Willy Wonka experience.
Wow.
They come in, I'm the crazy old guy, but we have all these amazing toys and treats. And literally their eyes bug out, and it's the most amazing thing to see. I don't get it because I'm there every day, and I grew up with it. So listening to people talk about dropping a needle onto a record, you know that's just part of life. It's like breathing, but or loading film into a camera. But when they come in, they're very excited, and I'm a curmudgeon, so it's hard to, yeah, okay. It's hard for me to show that I see their excitement, but it is there, and their interest, and sometimes as a guy a person who's done this for so long, it's hard to catch that excitement again. But when someone comes in with just the right questions and just the right attitude, boy, does it makes my career so worth it.
That's when you drop the curmudgeon part.
No.
That always stays with you.
Read the reviews.
Be true to yourself, Jason. That's what we want here.
Read the review.
Let's take a phone call. We've got Dick on the line from Bethel. Hi, Dick. You're on the Physical Media Show on Vermont Edition today.
Hi, I wanted to say that I doubled the size of my LP collection because of the invention of CDs. When LPs went out of fashion, people started selling their LPs at yard sales, and I couldn't believe some of the wonderful records I was able to get for a quarter. Harry Belafonte at Carnegie Hall, or Charles Trenet, great French chanteur, just wonderful collectors. And people were selling them because they considered them junk because the technology had gone out of style.
Wow. You must have felt like you found treasures there, getting those great albums for that little amount of money.
They were treasures. I would say that, and I appreciate. I myself also have a CD collection. If it's bluegrass or baroque, small baroque ensembles, the CDs are better because they're clearer and snappier and sharper sound. But if you've got a big, like a Mahler symphony, the LPs, they can't match the LPs. Nothing can match the LP for the richness and fullness of the sound. And for some reason, also LPs are better for blues.
Huh? That's interesting.
That tube sound on the guitar.
Well, you've got Norbert Ender nodding his head here to that, Dick. Is he right? Why blues? Why does blues come better across on vinyl?
I think it also has to do with the modern speakers. They're just not as well balanced as they used to be. I'm kind of a purist in that sense. I like two big speakers without any frills. And again, the highs and lows are just better balanced on those. And if you have a good amplifier with that, obviously, they'll push all those highs and lows in a beautifully balanced way that you can only enjoy off a vinyl, I think.
Interesting. Dick, thank you so much for the phone call. If you want to join this conversation, give us a ring at 800-639-2211. That's 1-800-639-2211. We're talking all things physical media here today. Sarah Jane, I wanted to ask about something that Norbert was touching on before, and that's sort of the gender breakdown that you get. What do you see in your classes? Is it about even, between the genders, or is there more interest one way or the other?
Yeah, I would say our classes have a pretty broad spectrum of all backgrounds, genders, ages even, and especially what Jason was saying about kind of the dynamic age groups coming in that are excited about film photography especially. And a lot of the classes that I've taught for the darkroom class, there will be students that are 19, 18, but also 60-year-olds that are excited to pick up a medium that they studied in college or high school. And it's a really cool experience to have these intergenerational classes where they're learning from each other and sharing about the first time they picked up their camera that they have 40 years ago, but also the students that are so excited about the camera that they just bought the other day. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah,
we should say too
cool.
that beyond film developing, you also do some teaching with woodworking, with painting, other tactile things. What else do you do there?
Yeah, so we have a jewelry studio, a clay studio, a drawing and painting studio, a printmaking studio, and then our darkroom and digital lab. So all of those adult classes are for folks 18 and up. So what's really cool is we have our classes, so folks can come in for workshops or 6 to 8 week classes to learn a new medium or advance their skills. But we also have a membership program, so folks can come and kind of access the studio during our open studio hours and get to create their work. So we have some darkroom members that have been there since we started up 40 years ago, and some folks that are new from the classes that want to keep going with those skills.
Fantastic. Constant stream of folks. We have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll have more on the revival of physical media and what it offers for those who take the time to seek it out. You're listening to Vermont Edition. Welcome back to Vermont Edition. I'm Mitch Wertlieb in for Michaela Lefrak. Okay, Gold Star, if you were able to discern the origins of those sounds we just heard, a cassette tape clicking into its recorder, the drop of a needle on a vinyl record, the whir of a photograph emerging from the slot of a Polaroid camera, and a VHS tape being loaded into a playback machine. By the way, be kind and rewind. Certain folks will know what that means. My guests today are well-versed in the mechanics of physical media. Sarah Jane Kennelly is an artist, educator, and curator who teaches film development, among other things, at Burlington City Arts. Jason Robinson is the owner of the Queen City's oldest camera shop, Lizotte, and Norbert Ender owns the music store Speaking Volumes in Burlington. He also has a new shop in Randolph. Listeners, please join in this conversation if you would like. Call us at 800-639-2211 or send an email to vermontedition@vermontpublic.org. We want to hear about your favorite ways to use physical media, whether you've rediscovered its joys or maybe never abandoned them in the first place. Sarah Jane, we just heard that sound of the Polaroid camera in that clip. And, that is an example now of what is really old physical media. But it occurs to me that when this came out at the time, it was used to bypass the time that it takes to develop film. The whole point was, oh, look, my photograph is coming out instantly. So, how do you view something like the advent of the Polaroid camera? Did it sort of bring about its own demise in a way by emphasizing speed and convenience?
Yeah, I think that some folks have different priorities with the types of making they're doing, right? So I think the dawn of cell phone photography as a very quick medium to be able to take it out of your pocket and you can hold down the button and take a bajillion photos instantly. Some people are really excited about that part because they're excited about just capturing what they're seeing. And I think the folks that cared before about the process of, making the image and developing the film and creating the print, that they're just still as excited about that. I think it's like the different priorities people have with the making they're doing. We see that even in our printmaking classes. We have a lot of design students and graphic designers come in that could make the same screen print design in a fraction of the time on Photoshop and just print it out, but they're excited about the physical object of mixing the ink, making the image, and having that physical object that was way more hands-on involved in the process. So, yeah.
Jason, what are the advantages of? I mean, obviously, as Sarah Jane was saying, you can take thousands of photos, or a whole bunch of photos in a few seconds with an iPhone. But what do you lose in not going through the physical steps to use a regular an older camera?
I don't think you lose anything. I think you gain something, and you gain the experience. And we've talked about that, the tactile, the holding it. There's something when you have an investment of time, you have an investment of knowledge, and right now, because of prices, you have an investment of money. Film photography is no secret, or any of this legacy media is not inexpensive at this time. And so it slows you down. It becomes more precious. And I think the thing that has always excited me, and I see this in the folks that I work with, there's risk involved. We work with a lot of wedding photographers. We work with aspiring wedding photographers, aspiring film photographers. There is a implied risk involved that doesn't exist with an iPhone. That you can take out the trash can in the back by wiggling your finger. Yeah. So there's an investment, and I think that right now we're looking to invest in things that are valuable to us, and when you create something, you can't delete a roll of film. You can seriously mess up a roll of film, but that's part of the charm of it. But once you have those negatives in your shoebox up in the closet, they're there. And if you upgrade your camera, those negatives are still there. Unlike if I've got a box of iPhones at home that have the last 20 years of my family's history on it, and I haven't looked at them since I took them. Every time, I haven't looked at my iPhone 4S photos since I got the 5.
Yeah,
and that's just the way it works. But and again, we just visited my grandmother, who's still alive, and I took my kids. They're both in their 20s now, and they're sitting there on grandma's couch, and she dawdles away and comes back down with books of when my parents were their age, and you should have seen their face, just being able to look at the photos and knowing that there they are, and she was able to physically give them the album to take home. So now it's part of their legacy. You can't. I'm not going to hand down my iPhone to anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
It takes on a different meaning.
Yeah. In our classes, in my classes that I've taught, and some other ones from our instructors, including Grace Dodds. She's one of our darkroom photography instructors. She had been noted in her classes that she was hearing students share, "Oh, I love the images I've made, but what do I do with them now?" Or I don't want them to just sit on a computer. That's not as, they're just kind of sitting in the vacuum of the internet. So we're starting a new class called Photography Books of Zine Making. So teaching students how to think about their photographs as a way to create a physical object. So we're really excited. That class goes on sale actually tomorrow. So
great. Yeah, we're going to mention more about the classes that are available too. Let's go to the calls now. We've got Nathan on the line from Calais. Hi, Nathan.
Hello. Yeah, I listened to LPs. I started in the 70s. I bought my first stereo system then, and other than the speakers, I'm using the same one.
Wow.
I have a reel-to-reel tape deck that I still use. The amplifier is an old Sylvania Quad amp. I always wanted Bose 901 speakers, but they were beyond my price range. But now you can get them for like $300, and you have to restore them, which I did. But I just love how it sounds. I love the action of putting the needle on the record. I love having to take care of the records. You have to handle them right. I just love the whole experience.
Nathan, I really appreciate that call. Thank you so much for that. Norbert, does that sound like a lot of your customers that come into your store?
Yes. As he just mentioned, there's nothing like the sound of a good vintage speaker. I personally like Klipsch a lot. So my setup is currently some Klipsch heresies, and then they run through some Sansui amplifier. And have a standard 1200 Techniques turntable. I like my stuff manual, very basic, nothing to break, nothing to maintain. So just gotta make sure you set the needle gently down on your vinyl, and you're good to go. And then you can also interrupt the playing with the up and down lever. So it's just the tangibility as he just mentioned, the risk involved. Even there might even be some risk involved if you don't drop that needle properly. You got to be super careful.
What have you? Yeah.
Yep, we got to keep the vinyl clean.
But you're part of the process when you're lifting that needle, deciding when you're going to put it down, and how much you're going to listen to.
And you're going to hit that right groove. on the microscope. Yeah, and then when you do hit it right on the right spot, and then I do appreciate when people walk in and say, "Hey, where's the live music?"
Right.
No live music here, but good speakers and a vinyl.
Yeah, and a Wurlitzer, too.
And a Wurlitzer, two of them, actually. Yeah.
Let's take another call. Robert is on the line from Burlington. Hi, Robert.
Hi. So I'm an electrical engineer and an audio engineer, and I'm pushing 70, so I've been around. I got a lot of vinyl that I like. Just because I haven't been able to replace the music in a different format. But I got to push back a little bit on the notion that you can't get that warm sound with CD players. The CDs will just faithfully reproduce what you have, which includes highs and stuff, which makes them sound crispier or whatever than maybe some vinyl. And they have a much better signal-to-noise ratio than the vinyl has when you consider the surface noise especially. So if you have some record with some warm sound that you just really love the way that vinyl sounds, what you can do is you can take your turntable and you can connect it up to an audio workstation like Pro Tools or Logic or something. You can drop the needle on that record. You can record that record right to your digital audio workstation. Then you can burn that sucker on a CD and play that CD, and you'll have that warm sound just as warm as it was when you heard it right out of the vinyl.
I mean, you're an engineer. You can do all that stuff. But Norbert, do you agree with Robert here? I mean,
yes. Actually, I do to some degree. I would say it really goes back to the good speakers what make all the difference, and then good equipment to reproduce those sounds accordingly, and then you can play on, obviously. But again, not everybody's an electric engineer with super equipment at their disposal. But generally, my biggest beef is nowadays everybody wants these tiny, compact speakers on a bookshelf and expect a lot of bass and a lot of fullness, and you're just not going to get it out of those tiny speakers. My main thing is always when I sell systems, like buy the biggest speakers that you can accommodate usually, and it also saves you a lot of money. Can get very beautiful speakers for very little money nowadays, again, because the trend is always to smaller, compact speakers up on the shelf, hidden away. If you really care about music, go big on the speakers.
For the sound, that's what matters. Okay.
Go big on the speakers.
We've got a call from our friend from north of the border. Grace is on the line from Montreal. Hi, Grace.
Hi. How are you, Mitch?
Doing all right. How are you doing?
Good. So I'm just wanting to sing the praises of photography, film photography, which I started in high school and then, of course, dropped off. And within the past couple of years, have gotten back into it. And I find that it makes me a much better photographer because you pause and you get your composition, whether it's photographing people or landscapes, but because each shutter click costs a lot. Especially, I don't know about the situation there, but there are only a few places that actually that will do film for you, and also the anticipation of waiting to see what comes out of it. I find is a good I don't know, good meditative thing for us all.
Grace,
it's
is this
not
something?
just immediate pleasure.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Is this something that you do professionally, or just
No.
as a hobby that you like to do?
Yes, and yep.
And
Yep,
and
absolutely.
what kind of a camera do you have? I wonder if Jason can speak to the kind of camera you have.
Just play the sound. I'll tell you what it is.
But okay, I've got a couple. My grandmother gave me some, but mostly I use a Minolta. What is it? Minolta Maxim 330 SI.
Okay.
Good camera.
I like it very much. Yeah, the Minolta was a giant, and they got bought out by Sony, but that was the end of the film lineage of Minolta. They went digital after that.
Fantastic. Grace, and very quickly, what are some of your favorite photographs that you've taken? I'm guessing around the lovely city of Montreal or elsewhere?
Indeed, but also of so I'm originally from Cape Cod, and I particularly enjoy black and white, and so the sand dunes in Montreal, and also just of my children. I find I capture like amazing moments that with a digital camera I would not.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you very much for the phone call, Grace. I appreciate that. Sarah Jane, I'm wondering if you are able to immediately tell if a photograph that you're looking at has been developed by hand or taken with a smartphone.
Yeah, I think there are different tones that come out with printing in the darkroom that you can see in a print. I think, it's getting harder to tell the difference because there's lots of editing softwares and, someone could throw an image into AI. I like to hope that it doesn't look exactly the same, but
yeah.
I think those technologies are getting better, and yeah.
I want to get to the AI question in just a moment, but first we have this email from Elizabeth in Heartland who writes, "We have family photos dating back to the 1880s and Sony video cassettes from the 1990s we would like to convert electronically in order to share with the younger family members. We're not sure what the safest way to go about preserving these images is for the future. Any suggestions, Jason?"
We do so much of this. In fact, right now, my coworker Jeremy, I know, is sitting at his scanner. We've got this beautiful production scanner, and he's doing a few hundred slides that someone dropped off yesterday. We've got VHS machines upstairs that we play and we convert, and everything but a reel-to-reel audio. We don't have that yet, but I think I know where I can get one.
I have the players. I didn't know you do the conversion because we get approached quite a bit.
We do all of that,
and I have somebody.
In fact, people bring it in exactly like your email just said, in giant Rubbermaid tubs.
Wow!
Of several generations, and finally someone is like, "I want these on one thumb drive."
Oh my gosh!
There's a huge call for VHS players right now.
That amazes me. I really thought those were going to go the way of the dinosaur. I really did.
I just had to ship one down to Florida on loan for a friend of mine who wants to convert his family pictures onto digital format, and for that you do need a player. It's as simple as that.
My coworker Tom, every time he sees a VHS player, he just picks it up. He's like, because you never know when someone's going to need one.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. Yep, maybe Blockbuster will make a comeback. We have to take a quick break, and when we come back, more on the comeback of physical media and the ways you can access it. This is Vermont Edition. Welcome back to Vermont Edition. I'm Mitch Wertlieb in for Michaela Lefrak. We've been getting physical with media this hour with our guests Norbert Ender, owner of the music store Speaking Volumes in Burlington and with a new store in Randolph. Also Sarah Jane Kennelly, who teaches film development and other artistic endeavors at Burlington City Arts. And Jason Robinson, who owns Lazat, the oldest camera shop in Burlington. Feel free to weigh in with your feelings or stories about physical media. The number to call is 800-639-2211. You can also send an email to vermontedition@vermontpublic.org. Sarah Jane, before we got off on people wanting to bring in old stuff to get onto like a thumb drive, I had mentioned AI, and I'll admit it terrifies me. It scares me. I don't understand it. Is all of this that's happening now, this revival of physical media, some kind of innate response we have as human beings to stave off our inevitable robot overlords?
I think probably partially. I think people are excited to do something that's hands-on. I think especially the younger generation that's just really inundated with online world. It's a really they've noted in classes like, I feel way more connected to what I'm doing without like the technology piece around me, and just getting to print in the darkroom or throw on the wheel or whatever that looks like for the work they're pursuing.
And
But
you're talking young people here. I want to make sure I'm getting this right.
yes, definitely.
Gen Z, millennials. That's fantastic. I mean, I find that encouraging.
Definitely. And I think there's, we actually recently had at our downtown exhibition space on Church Street, we did recently have an exhibition on the relationship between art making and AI, and got a lot of interesting responses to that from folks that were coming in. But I think there's a path forward that could look like art and AI coexisting in ways that aren't competing directly against each other or stealing from artists' work, in ways that we can use the new tools, or we don't have to use AI also. I think it's the two different paths we can.
Yeah. Well, I do hope we have that choice. Let's go back to the phones. Bruce is on the line from White River Junction. Hi, Bruce.
Hi, Mitch. I qualify as an analog dinosaur. I'm a photographer and graphic designer and use large format cameras for all my career. The thing I really wanted to talk about is the LP physical object as a delivery medium for art and information. That you can have this 12 by 12 inch surface front and back, or twice that if it's a gatefold. If you have a box set, you have these wonderful booklets that people like Deutsche Grammophon made, and artwork from William S. Harvey, who did all the Elektra covers. I just love that big open space for seeing beautiful expressions and also learning a lot about the musicians. And when it got compressed to CD and then to on the cloud, that immediate access to the information went away.
Bruce, maybe you can help me out with this one, because as soon as you mentioned art, the cover art, I started thinking about those great albums from the band Yes back in the 70s. And I know that there was a famous artist who did a lot of those covers. Do you happen to remember the name of that artist? I can't remember it.
I don't.
Oh, it was so cool. It was just very trippy, very colorful, like space landscapes.
In the 50s, jazz albums had really wonderful modern art. So it's been a place where people could make beautiful expressions, and you get to look at that while you're listening to the music. And now, unless I have LPs and open reel tape, so I get to enjoy that. But hopefully that will come back more and more in the future.
Yeah, I appreciate the call, Bruce. Thank you very much. I do want to, maybe be a devil's advocate here on what Bruce is talking about, because, I admit to one of the things that I really like doing is being able to walk in the woods with my dog, but sometimes I want to listen to music while I'm doing it. I can't do that with a vinyl record or even a CD. You can maybe have a CD compact player with you, but there is a convenience that has come with the iPhone and being able to have that music, with your headphones in, so is there something that, is that we lose if we don't have that ability, or something that we've gained, like you were saying before, Jason, about, having the ability to bring the music with you? Is there something better about that in a way? And maybe, Norbert, that's a question for you.
I personally do not inundate myself with music 24/7. When I come home, I do, you may be shocked to hear, but I don't have a record player in my house.
I am shocked to hear that.
I listen primarily to Vermont Public Radio when I get home, or podcasts.
Don't
and
stop
stuff
doing
like
that. That's very good.
No, I will continue that. But I listen to music all day at my shop, and I'm very selective what I play on vinyl. But then I also think it's important to have a downtime for your brain to just kind of not being bombarded by.
I don't process film when I go home.
You do not?
No.
Do you listen to music, though, when you're walking
I
or
do.
what have you,
And
or at the gym or whatever?
I know what you're saying, because, yes, I've stopped. I take my dogs out every morning. I've stopped taking my cell phone with me. I prefer to listen to music or the news or whatever in the morning, but I've started to unplug, like you said your young folks over at the BCA like to do. And you're right, Norbert, just reset and just be silent, because I'm going to go into the day where there's music playing at work, and I'm going to be talking cameras and being with folks. And sometimes, we live in a hell of a state, and you got to look around every now and again.
Sure do.
And that's a conscious decision that I've made, just to be untouchable, unreachable for a little while. However, I do have, to answer your question, in the trunk of my car right now, I got a beautiful Sony Walkman. sport that and that you have to make a decision what album you're going to listen to. Sometimes I get overwhelmed with all the choices on the music. I just, because you have everything available to you, you can't commit to what you're doing.
You're the guy that still has a Walkman.
Oh, I do. Yeah. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Bright yellow.
No kidding.
Yeah, with the original uncomfortable headphones.
Sarah Jane, can I ask and probe about your listening habits? Do you ever take music with you when you're on a walk or going to the gym or what have you?
Yeah, I think I've also experienced that. Like, I want to be more intentional with what I'm consuming and not just have this mindless playing in the background. So, I am a subscriber to Spotify, and I've seen that my listening hours go down every year actually, and I'm more thoughtful about what I'm listening to. And we have a record player at home, but I think I'm trying to less often just mindlessly experience music and more thoughtfully engage with it.
I am trying to do that too because of what Jason was saying. Sometimes I have found myself being out in the woods and realizing I don't need the music right now. This is gorgeous. I am in one of the most beautiful places in the world,
Definitely.
and I'm lucky to be here. And so, I think it is important to prioritize those things. I want to give a shout out to Robert, who called in before, our engineer caller, who actually answered my question about the Yes album cover art. It was Roger Dean, apparently, who did that cover art, which I thought was just fabulous.
Salvador Dali did a bunch of for Jackie Gleason, actually, some covers.
You've got to be kidding me. Actually, that makes perfect sense because it makes no sense. Salvador Dali did cover art for Jackie Gleason?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get my brain
And people
wrapped
collect
around
those, yes.
That is amazing. I have to imagine that the collections that you all have personally in your homes or even their shops are kind of amazing, right? You're making this sign?
No, I have no personal collection of vinyl in my house.
You keep it all in the store.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great for your customers who come in and can.
So
can
everything
check
I
everything
have,
out.
it's on full display, and I'm happy to share and let them go if I find.
So you're not a true hoarder, like you said.
No.
You have to come to my house, and you'll see.
Jason, what's the coolest old camera that you have?
I'll tell you. The coolest old camera I have is I'd say it's a soft gift from Dan Higgins from Winooski, a very prolific photographer. Everyone loves him. It's a 20 by 30-ish film camera. And he had it in his studio, and I don't know if he was downsizing or whatever, but a few years ago it wound up in my shop. And when you walk in, it overwhelms you because, one, you don't know what it is. It looks like a big screen TV when you're looking at it. We have it open with the shutter, and you can go around and look through the ground glass on the back, and you can see the upside-down image of Main Street and all the construction cones there. And people are fascinated by this thing. It's a working camera. He took a lot of headshots, portraits of the people of Winooski through the first renaissance of Winooski, and it's probably my most prized possession in the shop. It's amazing.
Sounds amazing. Very quickly, Sarah Jane, I want to, you were mentioning some of the things you can sign up for Burlington City Arts. When is that happening? What are some things folks can sign up? We'll have links on our website, by the way.
Oh, great. So our fall session goes on sale tomorrow at noon. So I highly recommend making an account beforehand if you're excited about anything you see. But we have classes for school break camps for kids as well as teens, and workshops and classes. Like I mentioned, the photography zine making class, but also throwing sets on the wheel to making earrings. So we have everything.
You say throwing sets on the wheel. What do you mean by that?
So one of our instructors, Zoe Ray, is teaching an advanced intermediate class so that folks can learn how to throw sets of bowls that look similar to one another. So classes for folks that are beginners in a medium, but also folks that are wanting to grow their skills.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. I want to thank all our guests today. I could spend so much more time talking with you about all of this, but thank you so much for the contributions that you did give us. Norbert Ender, the owner of the music store Speaking Volumes in Burlington, also with a new store in Randolph. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Sarah Jane Kennelly, who teaches film development and other artistic endeavors at Burlington City Arts. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Jason Robinson, who owns Lazat, the oldest camera shop in Burlington. Jason, thanks so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
That's it for today. As always, you can pitch us ideas by emailing Vermont Edition at vermontpublic.org, and you can find Vermont Public as well on Instagram. Today's show is directed by Aaliyah Papes. John Ahrens is our managing producer, and Andrea Lorian and Daniela Fierro are our producers. And today's call screener was John Ahrens. Our theme music is by Myra Flynn. I'm Mitch Wertlieb in for Michaela Lefrak. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope we can catch up again soon.
These days, there's so much news, it can be hard to keep up with what it all means for you, your family, and your community. The Consider This podcast from NPR features our award-winning journalism. 6 days a week, we bring you a deep dive on a news story and provide the context and analysis that helps you make sense of the news. We get behind the headlines. We get to the truth. Listen to the Consider This podcast from NPR.